So if you are looking and you are an investor and you're thinking, how do I get to an institutional level? Well, buying a building like this is a really good way to set yourself up for success. Or is it? And that's a really big question that we're asking ourselves today in this episode. And we also talk about a deal that I had done in 2009, which is very similar to this, where I more than doubled my investors' money in 18 months. So if you like big, chunky commercial buildings with big, chunky commercial income, then this is the episode for you. So make sure you watch to the end. And thank you for joining us.
And today we have taken you all the way up to Barrow-in-Furness. We are looking at a huge 1 acre site. It's an office building. It's called College House, and it's currently occupied by 19 different tenants. 25% of the covenant in terms of the tenants is occupied by the NHS. You've also got people like Age UK there as well, and Furness College. Your WALT, which is basically what's left over, is about 4.72 years. And the actual income on it is pretty good. It's 292,000 with a whopping guide price of 1.65 mil. I don't think anything's ever traded in Barrow-in-Furness for 1.65 mil, but there we go. There's a first for everything. It's a huge site. It's got car parking. I love the description on it as well. Savills always do a really, really good job of describing things. And the reality of this is, they've described it as potentially having an option for planning in terms of residential. I don't think that's viable just because of the values. And obviously you're sitting on what I would consider a negative land value if you're looking at resi. But it did say that it had, I think it's the positive, a warmly received planning application for 20 apartments on part of the site. So there you go. That's one for you for your next description.
Storing that.
There you got so many.
So it does have VAT elected on it as well, but obviously it will be a transfer of ongoing concern, so that's not going to be a problem. And obviously it's got a high rent roll. I mean, they project the actual ERV on it is circa 350,000 a year, fully tenanted. So look, it's an asset management opportunity. It's a high yielding opportunity, but the elephant in the room is going to be what happens when your leases come to an end in that 4.72 years. And where would you see your tenant type, your covenants, and ultimately your income going to be underpinned by? So I'm going to go straight over to Olivia, actually. Totally the opposite end of the country for you. Yeah. So probably out your comfort zone. But what would you think when you get approached by something like this from a vendor?
God, it's, I'd say there's not much in Devon and Cornwall that is going to be this sort of value. So it's not something I come across very often at all. Like you said, straight away, the residential doesn't work out there. It is just a concern over the tenants, basically, of what demand you're going to have in that area, what type of tenants are going to be interested. So I think it's going to be a very specific type of buyer for something like that.
Do you think it might be an institutional buyer, or do you think it might be someone kind of on the smaller side of 1 to 5 mil?
Definitely institutional
buyer.
Yeah, I think for me.
Yeah.
I'd agree it's a commercial property, and I doubt if that would change. A, because of values in the area, as you say, and B, because of the build cost, I suppose. It's an enormous office block. On the other hand, it's probably good for an institutional investor, good for income.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positivity around flexible office spaces at the moment. Regis, for example, are smashing it at the moment. They're doing very well. They've picked up a lot of WeWorks, I understand. So they're doing really, really well. And you've got a sense of that here as well with this property mix of tenants. It comes across from the photographs. You've also got Regis taking, for example, single floors in office buildings and spinning them out in that way. So I would think for that sort of investor, it's strong, but I'm doubtful if it's anything for the viewers on this program.
Yeah, but I think the most important point here is you've not got one occupier taking every single thing. Exactly. It's basically a CMO, isn't it? It's a commercial multi-occupation. But I think the most important thing really is the fact that the local economy of Barrow-in-Furness, it really, really is quite difficult to get. So it's right after the kind of Lake District. You have to go all the way around to get to it. The microeconomy within kind of Barrow-in-Furness is not great. There's not really loads of employment. So you're going to be dependent on people like the NHS and basically what is effectively government-funded institutions to be renting stuff like that out, because you're not going to be getting, sort of younger companies, SMEs, etc. But Pierre, I'll hand over to you because this is something that'll be up your street, wouldn't it?
I like properties like this, but not in this area. I think the planning potential on this is very exaggerated because there's no way you can have tenants in there and take away car parking spaces.
They did say warmly.
I'll give them
that. Does that mean
Warmly
that
is
someone...
by the council, but not by the tenants.
Yeah.
So basically, the warmly part was someone smiled at them rather than just spitting in their face. Like, we're never going to do this.
I think this is gonna be like there's no planning potential. That it's like it's guaranteed. It has to stay as it is. The car parking spaces have to stay as they are because people that probably travel. The car is probably essential.
Yeah.
I don't think there's tube in Barrow-in-Furness.
Don't think there's even many cars there either. They're still on horse carriages.
We're going to get some heat for that comment.
You guys from London and the southeast. It's actually quite a lot further before you get to Scotland.
but apparently, the south and north divide. It's where Middlesbrough is, and actually the name of Middlesbrough is from
middle of the country. Interesting.
So, is this in the north or south?
This is in the north.
This is in the northwest.
This is in the north.
You guys do need to get that.
Don't lump everyone into that. That was what those two were saying. Okay, we were stum.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it's got 19 tenants. It does take some management to manage those tenants, and I would want to be interested in how the costs are divided and whether the tenants actually pay for their own costs.
Yeah.
And also what are the communal areas in that, because every time, every time the property goes vacant, you're responsible for the rates. And
yeah, it is good condition, to be fair to them. It's a huge property and it's in an actual decent condition internally as well. So, Jay?
Yeah.
So 15 years ago, I did this exact deal, but in Birmingham. I bought a property on the Hagley Road. It was on a dare. I was working with an investor and he bet me that I couldn't double his money in 2 years. So I was like, okay, I'll take your money. I was seeing a commercial agent in Birmingham at the time and she had this building she just couldn't shift. It was on for £1 million. It was producing a lot of money at the time, but it was all gross. When you netted it down, you weren't getting much out of it. So I said that I would do the deal at £500,000. So they agreed to sell me the property at £500,000. It was a freehold block with a lot of car parking spaces, central Birmingham pretty much, maybe roughly the same kind of floors, and it was all let on just individual letting agreements, leases. So what I decided to do was I wanted to bring some permanency to the income. So I spent £250,000 refurbishing the whole building, automating a lot of the processes and getting contracts in for cleaning and things like that. So I reduced the operational costs and the outgoings of the building almost more than 75-80%. I then let it floor by floor on IRIs, internal repairing insuring leases, and I put those in for 15 years apiece. So I took what was previously the gross income and turned it into the net income.
Wow.
And then
huge.
I sold it to an American fund for £5 million. I did that in 18 months.
Wow.
So it's a very different market, very different, not just at market in terms of the time that we're in now, but also in location. But there are ways to add significant value. So when they say there is an estimated rental value, an ERV of 350, there are ways to asset manage that and create that. But in terms of buyer, you are definitely looking for institutional.
On the 5 mil that you said in the Birmingham, so what was that on a yield basis? What did they pay?
That was 10%.
That's a 10 times multiplier.
Yeah, in 2009.
For Birmingham, that's strong money.
2010.
Because today, that'll probably be at 5.5-6% in Birmingham.
Yeah, but this was still recovering from the 2008 crash.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So it was opportunity and it was speed.
Yeah.
Which is what we love about trading.
Yeah.
And it was in and out, and I more than doubled his money, so I won that bet. Which is the important part to mention on here.
There's no doubt, right? You take this building, you put it into Crawley, and it's 5 to 10x the kind of guide price that you have on something like this, right? But I think the location is going to play a part. Now, that's not going to put people off, but what it is going to do is going to basically increase the risk. And when you increase risk, you've got to basically kind of increase the yield that people are going to be expecting from an asset like this. Because ultimately, if the tenants did leave or something did happen, then they need to be able to repurpose that, re-gear things, etc. So I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to say it's going to go unsold. Don't think it's going to sell. And I think the location is playing a big part in this because I feel like even at that kind of yield, it's still not attractive enough for an institutional buyer to take that risk, in my opinion. I feel like this is probably more suited towards the 1.2 to 1.3 mil range. That's kind of where I'd see it at. John?
There must be an institutional buyer out there. There must be a fund. There must be someone who just wants to park their cash.
Maybe a Scottish fund wanted to break into English market.
Again,
It's too far from the border, Piotr.
I think the guide price is well over. I'll go for 1.35 million.
Okay.
It will sell.
Olivia?
Yeah, I can agree with the area. It's the location that I think holds it back. I'm going to go 1.2, I think.
Okay. I'm not going to go next. I'm not going to go first on the next one, just to put it out there. But Piotr?
I think this is going to go unsold for sure. And that's it. It's going to just go unsold.
But what would you think it would eventually trade at if it did trade?
It's a difficult one because I think whoever owns it, unless they're under pressure, they won't sell it. They'll just keep it.
Well, especially with the 4.72% vault on it.
Yeah, and if they are super under pressure, I've seen similar things like shopping centers and stuff like that selling for even $1 million would be a bit of a stretch.
Okay, interesting. Jay?
I think this will sell on its third trip around the hammer. I think it's an institutional seller. That's for certain. It's not a mum and pop operation. It very rarely is. In that instance, we've mentioned it before on the channel. They are going to have to reevaluate their values. They're going to have to get RIC surveyors to kind of underwrite a price that they're going to be able to sell at. And I think, I think 1.2 at auction sounds good, but I think on its third time around the hammer, it will probably be guided closer to 1.1 million, and I think it will probably sell bang on reserve.
So I'll reveal details that we haven't mentioned before. We actually just looked it up on EIG, and it was offered before twice in Allsop auction, in 2017 and 2022. Both times it didn't sell. In 2017 was available for 1 million, but the income was only 177. So it was almost half.
Bidding reached 970, just to put it out there.
Well, I think $1 million to 1.2 is about right. And I think if the same auctioneer in concurrent auctions was given the chance to run it in 3 times and people allowed it to find its value, I think it has a chance of selling. But the markets over that time are too varied. The income was probably very different. I don't think I think it needs 3 shots in the sun.
Yeah. Would you like more information?
No, thank you. No. Less information, please, Piotr.
One last thing. The time it got withdrawn was in July 2022, which was pre-Liz Truss. And if it didn't sell at that point, when everything was bloody selling, then I think it's going to struggle in today's market.
What was the price at that point? What was it listed at?
So it actually transacted in June 2018 at 3.79 million.
Wow.
And it transacted again, just probably purchased by the current seller in July 23 for
1.5.
1.5.
Wow.
Which probably tells me that he's not going to take a haircut to 1.2.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to asset manage it hard.
Well, you think about the current owner's perspective. He's thinking, right, well, they've owned it for 5 years or whatever, but I'm paying half, less than half of what they paid for it. So I must be paying 50 pence in the pound. I'm buying this below market value. I
think the elephant in the room is it transacted in August 2017 for 875,000 and later transacted in June 2018 for 3.796 mil.
Was Hammered at the time?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh dear.
So someone's made a hell of a lot of money on that. But it could be, it could be that someone's taken a vacant building that had absolutely very, very low value on a bricks and mortar, and obviously, but still at 3.76, that just seems like someone's made a big brown envelope there. Somewhere along the lines.
Okay, I'm starting to reconsider my position on this one. But there's got to be value in it between 1 million and 1.2, conceivably. But it's, again, would I do another deal like this? Yes. Would I do it in Barrow-in-Furness? No.
Okay. Good. Any other final thoughts, comments? No?
No. Not from me.
Safe to say, we're not going to be looking at anything else in Barrow-in-Furness, unfortunately.
Brilliant. So we're gonna reveal the results of this auction in a second. And if you have any comments and any ideas how to make money on properties like this, or maybe you purchased this at one point in the past, let us know in the comments.
So welcome back again to the results section of this video. As we predicted, this property didn't sell in the auction. It is now available at 1.65 million as per Savills website. And now let's delve into the reasons why this would have gone unsold. We mentioned several reasons in the video, but I think this is a fairly decent asset. It's producing really good income. It's got really good yield. However, it kind of falls into a no man's territory because it's a little bit too small for a big fund to come and take it, and a little bit too big and with too much of a management for a normal commercial investor to take it on. So it is a difficult territory. There's less people for properties like this, and that's why it went unsold. At 1.65 million is just 10% above what the current owner purchased it in 2023. And I think if they're not under pressure to sell it, then I would just keep it and run it until the sentiment for those kind of properties is much better. And as we saw in 2018, this property sold for 3.79 million. Those times could happen again in a few years, and it's a matter of being able to go through this period and take the income and wait for better times and better financing options for something like this. So at the moment, it's a no deal, and it didn't sell in the auction. Let's see how things pan out and where this property is going to end up. So thank you for watching. Let us know what you thought about this property. Let us know what you thought about this video and what else you would like us to cover. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.